One of Broadway's biggest stars is taking on a new role, singer-songwriter. Ben Platt, the young actor whose brilliant performance in the smash hit Dear Evan Hansen earned him a Tony, a Grammy, and an Emmy, recently released Sing to Me Instead, a debut solo album comprised entirely of original material. The album is a highly personal statement from a performer who up to now has been more comfortable telling stories other than his own. I recently sat down with the award-winning performer, and I began the conversation by asking him how the idea for the new album first came to be.
So in a logistical sense, I was working on the Evan Hansen cast recording at Atlantic Records and had a really great time making that album at Atlantic, and made a lot of relationships there with some of the A&R team. And you know, as we were going through the process, they mentioned a few times, have you ever thought about making your own record of any kind? Would you want to do original music? Would you want to do a pop album? And I think it had always been something in the back of my mind to sort of try to sing free from character, but I never had attempted to really sit down and write earnestly from my own voice. I had written, you know, joke songs with my family and with my friends growing up, and musical theater I'd been around and sort of writing little musicals here and there, but never had really written earnestly in my own point of view. And so I sat down with this record in mind and to see sort of what would come out, and I liked the songs that came out, and so the record was born.
You know, you said that you wanted this record to be very personal, very transparent, an authentic portrayal of your personal life, with no characters in between you and the audience of the listeners. Why? Why did you want that?
You know, I think I've been really lucky as an actor to have a lot of opportunities to show different parts of myself through other people and to disguise myself in other perspectives and have that be sort of the main task at hand. And if I was going to go down this road and try to add something like a different lane to what I do, I wanted it to be a challenge that I wasn't going to be able to find as an actor. And I think the one thing you don't really get to do is show who you are personally, free from structure and character and free from any kind of safety net. And the idea of sharing myself that kind of vulnerably and that transparently was very frightening to me, but that I think is the fear that I'm always sort of chasing, is something that feels brand new and uncharted territory. And so that I think I thought if I was going to do this, I wanted to kind of go all in or not.
So you're the kind of guy that runs into a fire instead of running away from one.
Well, I don't know about the fire, but if it's a musical fire, sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know, as you've said in previous interviews, that this is not a coming out album,
right.
Because you came out as gay to your family when you were 12 years old.
I did indeed.
Never hidden it ever since, at least since then. But most of your fans, most of your audiences knew nothing about your sexual life until they listened to this album.
Right.
Did that give you pause at all, that you would make yourself maybe too vulnerable?
Not really. I mean, I think, you know, the kind of step that I was most worried about or most apprehensive about was just sharing my own experiences and emotions at all. I don't think that that specifically the sort of sexuality of it all was something I was making a conscious decision about. It was just more once I crossed that bridge of I'm going to really share who I am, that's just a part of who I am, so that's naturally going to be something that I'm going to share. And I was really happy to be able to do it in the context of some art and something that I've made rather than sort of making a standalone announcement of some kind, because I think we are hopefully as a society and as a country and as a world beyond needing to declare that, because it's just a part of
just like you're Jewish instead of Catholic, you live in New York instead of Los Angeles.
Exactly.
Well, if we may talk about some of the songs in the album, I mean, the one that will hit any listener in the gut is Grow As We Go. Can you tell us about that song? What is it about? What does it mean to you?
Certainly. That's our single, Grow As We Go, and it's I wrote it with really talented co-writers Ben Abraham and Alex Hope, and it is sort of a song about a lot of times when relationships end, the reason that one person or the other gives is, you know, I need to go and find myself, I need to go stand on my own 2 feet and figure out who I am before I can be with someone else. And I was in a similar situation, and I think obviously there are certain times where that's very valid, and then there are other times where that's a bit of a cop-out. And so I kind of wrote this song from the perspective of the other person in the relationship, saying, listen, I hear you, I understand that you need to change, I also need to still grow and change and find myself, but why can't we stay together and stay next to each other, and I'll give you room to grow, you give me room to grow, and we can stay in each other's lives? Why does that mean we have to be apart?
When you're high, I'll take the lows. You can ebb and I can flow, and we'll take it slow and grow as we go.
And so I think the reason the song really resonates with people is because you can kind of find your way in on the positive side, if you find that you're in a relationship where you feel like you've really accomplished that, you are kind of growing together, or if you've been in a relationship that has ended for that reason, I think the song can speak to both worlds.
To what degree, if any, did you do this album in this way to kind of distance yourself from the role that you have been associated with, the one that you originated, the one that you won a Tony for? Was there any
I don't think that was necessarily the motive when it got started. I think it ended up being a really opportune timing as far as coming right after, for a couple of reasons. One being it did help me sort of set myself apart as far as this is who I am, free of this character, this is more honest to who I am as a person. And also I think that through the Evan Hansen experience I had a lot of experiences as a human being that took me to emotional places that I'd never been before and just were really eye-opening, and so it kind of set me up to have a lot of things to really write about and to have something really to say.
You're also starring in a new series for Netflix. It's called The Politician, I
Yes,
believe.
indeed.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so Ryan Murphy is the creative genius, is one of the folks that came to Evan Hansen that kind of blew my socks off at just the fact that he came. And he came backstage and was just very effusive and kind and said, I'd love to do something together. And I thought, I'm sure you think that of everyone you go and see because you're a smart man and you love to work with lots of artists. And I hoped that maybe I could be on one of his shows or something. But a few months down the line, he asked me to have a meal and pitched me this entire show that he had built around this character, this showcase for me, Peyton Hobart, who's the character that I play on The Politician. And it's this very kind of arch political satire, social satire, sort of biting, heightened reality of this kid who is desperate to be president of the United States. And each season is a different election on his way to maybe achieving that. And the first season that we shot was all about him trying to be president of his senior class in high school. So in that sense, it was in the world of Evan as far as just being in high school, but the thing that really attracted it to me was that the character and the tone of it is entirely a 360 as far as the character has a lot of hubris and is very ambition-driven and self-centered and conceited and confident. And there's a couple of little moments spread throughout. It's not necessarily a musical show, but there's a couple throughout the plot. There are a couple of reasons why we have to sing.
Well, Ben, I told my executive producer before, this morning, I said, if I found a genie in a bottle and he offered me 3 wishes, after the $10 billion and after the Fountain of Youth, I would ask for Ben Platt's voice, especially as you use it in this album. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.